Welcome back to Post-Traumatic Thriving. And Tanya, it's great to have you back.
Happy to be here.
And Anthony Brown is in the house. Good to have you back, buddy.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, so to recap where we've been, if you didn't listen to the first two episodes, you really got to, because it's just crazy interesting. But Anthony was born in Ohio. I was born in Ohio. But you grew up, literally from your first day of life with trauma, with the umbilical around your cord, around your neck. Then you're in a home where your dad's not there. You don't know who your dad is. You have three siblings. They have different dads. That's a kind of trauma that is kind of traumatic right off the bat, because every little boy wants to know their dad. Maybe that was just kind of your normal. Then you grow up, frankly, you're drinking beers at 6, you're using pot in young teenage years, and using needle drugs at 13. It's a really tough thing. But to you, it's just kind of a normal way of growing up. There's violence in your backyard. There's crime. You're committing crime. And then you join the carnival at age 15. More crazy stuff going on there. You're homeless, basically. It's a tough thing. Then you move to Southern California. You move here to Orange County. And this is the real OC we're talking about. None of this BS TV show stuff.
No, this is real
you're
OC.
in Costa Mesa. You're one of 4 Black people in the city of Costa Mesa, and it's a predominantly white community. People treat you well. It's not really a color thing, but it's you're dealing drugs out of fast food restaurants on Harbor Boulevard, right down the street from Disneyland, and more of this so-called normal. Then one day you're arrested by the same cop who's arrested you before. You have kind of a relationship with him, and he says something to you that kind of wakes you up. He says, "Why don't you do something with your life?" And it kind of occurs to you for the first time that, something's off. Then a lady invites you into a drug rehab in Newport Beach. You wake up to this very, no pun intended, sobering reality where people talk real. You're not gonna snow the snowman.
Right.
You're not gonna con the con artist. You're in there with other people that have done that stuff, been dishonest, and landed in the life of addiction and alcoholism. And you go for a year and a half sober. You got a boring elevator music job, and you go to a meth house. You're kind of dabbling with your old friends. The spoon of, what was the drug again? Meth. Okay. Whoa. Yeah. And you take the hit of meth, and boom, you're down again. And in the last episode, we talked about you stabilized with 20 years of sobriety. Now, I know that in those 23 years, you've done some crazy, interesting things. And to put the music metaphor on it, what would the music be from your childhood? What kind of music was that?
It would probably be some Otis Redding or something, sitting on the dock of the bay. That kind of like really slow.
Okay.
Like it's all sad. You're all misty.
Sad.
Yeah.
Otis Redding. And then you go to sobriety, which is elevator music.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you go into the meth house. That's Metallica, a lot of fun. And now you've had 23 years of sobriety, which you call Pink Floyd.
Right. I love this.
Which is awesome. That's a great way to kind of put identities to each of these phases of your life.
Yes.
Yeah, each chapter. So tell us more about Pink Floyd. Tell us about this 23 years of sobriety, and let's just start with what those first days right after you come out of sobriety, what they look like.
Okay, so I get arrested again. Okay, and I'm in jail, and by then the recovery seed has been planted, and that's when my interpretation of God started to switch. Instead of asking for favors, it was like, well, thank you for saving me, blah blah blah. And so that went on. I got released. The lady from the treatment center came, picked me up, put me in another place. She helped me out. She scholarshiped me. And I had probably 2 years of sobriety at that point. And I went to a park, and this is where I had my total God thing. I went to the park, and I was sober 2 years, and I said, because I wanted to figure out what is this God thing? What's it all about? You know? And I'm a firm believer that if you want information, go to the source. And so I sat at the park and I said, you know what, God, I know cars run on gas and I know this concrete bench is solid. I know that for a fact. Prove to me you exist. Yeah. And that's when I had my spiritual awakening. Let me preface it by, for me, God reaches people in ways in which is deep and personal, in which they understand to the point where there is no doubt in that individual's mind. And what happened to me that day sticks with me today, and it will never, ever leave me.
23 years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. One, after I said that, I was laying on the bench, I looked up and the trees were vivid. They were pastel. They were huge. And I looked below me and all these little animals came out the woods and they were surrounding my bench. And I felt this sense of ease and comfort within me. And I was given instructions and it's pretty tripped out. And the 3 things I was told is 1, don't hate. 2, don't intentionally harm nobody. And 3, always finish what you start. And I live by that even to this day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
That's a
powerful.
nice rule book.
It's deep.
Yeah.
I mean, I started out with an 8th grade education. Okay. I started out unemployed and I started finishing when I started. I started going to school, in which I never could complete because I was under the influence of drugs. And I actually started completing courses. I started going to school to become a psych tech. I took all those courses. I passed. I'm a person, because of my history, I have a bunch of felonies, and I just did the work. And a lot of people would tell me, it's like, you're not going to be able to get licensed. And my thing is, well, God said for me to do this. And lo and behold, I got a license.
Wow. And your license is in?
This time I got my license in psychiatric technology. I'm a licensed psychiatric technician.
Okay.
And so I'm still going to school. And then I got my associate in arts degree.
Okay.
Then I continued to go to school. And then I became a registered nurse.
Okay.
And going to nursing school, they're really strict on background checks because everything I'm doing, I have to get fingerprinted.
Right.
And they pull up my rap sheet. And I remember that, some would say, and they'll never give it to you. I'm like, you know what? This is what God wants me to do, because everything I do right now, and I don't use God's name loosely. This is my reality and how I think and feel and believe and act. Yeah. And so, I'm going to nursing school, and I remember in school, initially they said, well, you have to contact the nursing board, to see if you're able to do this. And I would contact the nursing board and they would send me to enforcement because of my felonies. And enforcement would say, well, we can't tell you if we're going to give you a license until you finish school. And so I'm like, whoa, okay. And it's like, okay, so I pray about it. And God just says, finish what you start. And I finished school. And when I got done, the nursing board said, okay, well, we'll give you a nursing license, but we will restrict it and put you on probation. And I'm like, probation? Really?
That's it?
I know probation, dude. And that's what I meant. I went through all of this stuff, and by then I had 11 years of sobriety, and they said, well, you have to go to at least 1 12-step meeting a week. I'm doing 2 a day. Okay. And what else? And they go, well, you have to do these random UA tests. I'm sober 11 years. Okay. And so I breathed through that like it was nothing. And it's because of the past I went through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're telling you to do stuff you're already doing.
Yeah. I mean, I know probation. Right? I mean, seriously, is that
okay?
I've been to prison.
Yeah. I mean, you want a sample? I'll give you, But so I went through all of that. And then I got done with my nursing, and I thought, okay, I want to do something else. And so I decided to go to Cal State Fullerton, where I got my bachelor's degree.
Okay.
And so now I got a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. And while I was there, I got my public health nursing degree. And in the midst of all of this, it's like I started picking up certificates, then I became a certified addiction treatment counselor, 3rd level nurse. I became certified in anger management. I'm certified in domestic violence. I'm just doing things. I was working for a treatment center early on because that's where I lived at when I first got started. They allowed me to be a house manager at another treatment center. And on my way to my parole officer, I got a phone call from the director of their program director or something. And just from normal conversation, she's like, we would like to have a dual diagnosis program. And I'm like, you want a dual diagnosis program? She goes, it'd be nice. And so, I was in the psych tech program, and me and a fellow student, we put together a dual diagnosis program for the
Well, let's explain what that is.
Yeah,
I happen to know what it is, but why don't you explain to the audience what a dual diagnosis is?
A dual diagnosis is when somebody has a substance abuse and mental health issue at the same time.
Right. And it's called double trouble.
Yeah.
It's
like co-occurring dual diagnosis.
Right.
Yeah. Double trouble. I never heard about that.
Yeah. I made it up.
It's good.
And it's really fascinating because a lot of people think, people get stuck in which came first, the chicken or the egg.
Right.
Did you have a mental illness and you self-medicated, or, did you do enough drugs to make you mentally ill?
Right.
But we treat both at the same time.
Okay.
And so I did this program for this treatment center. And then I left that treatment center, and they kept the program, but the model and the design I created, so I kept it. And so I started my own company, which is CARE. And so I actually made treatment portable.
So it's called CARE?
Yes, Coordinated Assisting Recovery Environments.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's break it apart a little bit, because there's such a flood of achievement here. I mean, you went from an 8th grade education to getting a college degree. That's very cool. And you know what's cool? I grew up in Fullerton, so Cal State Fullerton is right across the street from my high school. Troy High is right across the street, and so we got that in common. But that's an accomplishment right there. I mean, how many folks coming out of the mass incarceration system, earn college degrees? Well, a lot do actually, and you did. And then you go for a nursing degree, which let's be honest, the nurses do really the heavy lifting with a lot of our medical situations. The doctors pop in, but they're spread thin. And that's a big responsibility. You're handling drugs. You're literally people's lives depend on your reliability and dependability and everything else. You proved to the certification boards that you had full, complete, honest, thorough recovery to the point where they granted that. I loved your attitude about the parameters they put on them, because they're doing their jobs. They don't they don't want yahoos in hospitals with syringes. So you're accepting responsibility. Yes, I do have this rap sheet, and it is kind of long, and you've made some serious mistakes, but you've turned it around. That in and of itself is thriving and surviving in a major league way. But you're accepting the responsibilities from this. You're working through it. But it just keeps going from there. Now you start a company up. Tell us more about CARE and what you do there.
What we do is we go out, we contract with different facilities, whether it's substance use or mental illness, and we do groups for them. We educate some of their staff members. We'll even go in and do a complete treatment restructure. Whatever that has to do with people that have substance use, mental illness. Now we're leaning more into the homeless thing, but that's a different avenue. But that's what we do.
Well, awesome. But I know you're involved in homelessness too. You were homeless. Talk about what you're up to there.
Okay. Well, the homeless thing came later in life. Okay. But after I got done with CARE and my education, got my bachelor's degree, I share my story. I've written this story or some explanation of it throughout my whole life. I mean, I filed for my own certificate of rehabilitation, going through that process. And so telling my story is not really hard for me because it allows me to face everything continuously. And I feel that the more light you shine into the darkness, the less scary the skeletons are in that closet. And so I do it all the time. And I've shared it so much in like meetings that somebody said one day, well, dude, that sounds cool. Why don't you write a book about it?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so I wrote my book. That was my first book.
And what's the name of it?
From Park Bench to Park Avenue.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where'd you get the title? Tell us about the title first.
Because I always hear people always say, oh, I go from Park Avenue to Park Bench. It's like, no, I went the other way, dude. It's like I went from Park Bench to Park Avenue.
Okay.
Which is true. I mean, I literally lived on the bench, and the life that I lead now is totally like Park Avenue-ish. Yeah.
Well, you're not just, you're here in Orange County. I've heard your name for a while. It's such again, an honor to meet you in person. But you're a big name in Orange County. You know, you've had a big positive effect on Orange County. Mm-hmm. You know, I know your intro in Orange County was dealing drugs out of out of Harbor Boulevard, but you've transcended that, and now you're doing big things, big name. You're at big events. You're a big hero in our community. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's. And we're really as a lifelong, resident. You know, I came from Ohio too, but I was 9 months old when we moved here. You're a really big part of the Orange County story. Mm-hmm. What Orange County is all about. And this podcast is not about Orange County, but that's where we happen to be, right. And you happen to be a big part of
the fabric
of the fabric of our community. So. You know, we're grateful for that. But tell us more about the book. What's in the book, and why should people get the book? Because I think they should.
Mm-hmm. The book from Park Bench to Park Avenue is pretty much an autobiography. It's written in a way so people can understand, what it's like to be in that situation. Mm. Same story that I shared here. What it takes to get out of that situation, then the benefits of it. I just want people to understand that, struggling is just part of life. Mm-hmm. It's the way, it's your perception and how you interpret it and what you do with it. Mm-hmm. I can always say, woe is me, my life is this, but you know what? I can never be 9 years old again. So why live like I was 9?
Right.
So Anthony, as a grown man, what if you could talk to that 9-year-old kid today, that was you years ago, what would you say to that 9-year-old?
It's going to be all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's going to be okay. Yeah, that's all you can say to me at 9.
Okay.
That it's going to be okay, because I didn't understand anything else.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. And that's
beautiful.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And what would you say to that kid sitting in jail or in prison on a drug charge? What would you say to that individual?
Probably the same thing, because if you're sitting in prison for a drug charge, your disease has already gotten to the point where, it's starting to cause you some negative consequences. And you have to get to the point, my belief, until you actually leave an opening to hear something. Mm-hmm. Because I've been in and out of prisons, and it didn't matter until at one point where I was just sick and tired of being tired and sick. Mm-hmm. Things do get better if you allow it to get better. Mm-hmm. My philosophy on life is, this is all temporary. Human beings are born with an expiration date.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I had never heard it put that way.
That's true. Okay. We all have an expiration date.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's what you do between birth and that expiration date is what matters.
Gotcha.
You can either choose to suffer or keep reliving it, or you can experience everything as just another little niche in life and keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Beautiful outlook.
Yeah. And on your spiritual journey, I asked you about what, God looked like as a kid. It was just like my mom dragged me to church once in a while. And then you were talking to God along this whole path, God, please help me hide these drugs from the cops, or whatever these prayers look like. I don't know. You tell me. But then you had a real spiritual awakening. What would you say to that person who's really struggling about why on earth would God, if there is a God, why would God do this to me, or to do this to my loved one? What would you say to that person?
Just ask God. just honestly and sincerely and wholeheartedly, with no reservations, ask. It's written everywhere. You know, what is it? Knock and you shall enter, seek and you shall find.
Yeah, right.
You know, just ask. I did.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes I can't find the right word to describe. It's indescribably delicious. It is.
Oh, I like that.
I mean, my whole philosophy and everything I do and everything I experience is completely attributed. I mean, I was to the point because I remember I used to say, okay, God, what next? And then something will happen. So, okay, what next? Something happens. And then I got to the point where it's like, okay, God, I'm tired. And then God's like, I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, and so the next thing pops up. You know, I have a brother because addiction is a family disease. My brother is older than me and he's in his disease. And he was going through what I went through back then. He was living in an abandoned doctor's office, you know. And when I talked to him, you know, I'm like, okay, dude, like, find out who owns that building. I'll buy it. Then that way you got a place to live. And he couldn't do it. And so I said, okay. So I bought a mansion instead. You know, I bought a 9,000 square foot house in Mansfield that I'm just going to give to the homeless people.
Wow.
You know.
And what's it called?
It's called Brown Manor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's,
tell us about Brown Manor. Tell us more about that.
I love Brown Manor. It's, again, total God shot in his time, not mine. I bought Brown Manor without ever even seeing it. I mean, I've seen a picture of it, but I've never been in it. And so I ended up buying it. And when I finally went to seal the deal and sign the paperwork, I flew to Ohio to look at it. Now, this house has been empty for a while. And when I first walked in the door, there was like a dried bat hanging off the light. And you could like smell mildew through the house. I mean, it was a mess.
The Addams family.
Addams family,
yeah. And I'm like, are you serious, God? You know? And then I went back to my hotel room and I prayed. And I went back the next day and I opened that same door. And it's like, oh my God, this is like so beautiful. I mean, a 1916 house with stained glass windows everywhere, old French doors.
Oh, how beautiful.
And I'm like,
prisms.
I'm like, so many lives are going to be saved in here.
Oh,
you know? And then it's like, okay, God, how am I going to pay for it? You know? And he's like, don't trip.
Yeah. He provides.
Yeah, he provides. All I got to do is the footwork. And so that's my thing. And so proceeds from, you know, the books, everything I do, you know, it's all for Brown Manor. And they say you have to give it away to keep it. You know, none of this stuff is my stuff. It's all God's stuff.
Right.
You know, I've never once seen a Hertz with a U-Haul trailer connected to it. We're not taking it with us.
Right.
Right.
You know, we're not.
So if people want to contribute to Brown Manor and where do we find you and how do we do that?
Well, my website is www.anthonyhowardbrown.com. Brown Manor does have a GoFundMe, and then the book from Park Bench to Park Avenue. But you can go to my website, and everything's connected there. You know,
AnthonyHowardBrown.com.
Yes.
Okay.
And everything's connected there. Everything I do is just for that. It's just for Brown Manor. You know, because that's why I was given this life so that I can help somebody else.
Okay.
You know?
And what stage is Brown Manor in? When did you buy? What year did you buy it?
I bought Brown Manor probably 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
And right now we finally got the roof done. We finally have all the demolition done.
Okay.
Because there was like so much work to be done in there, you know? And so now we're getting ready for the construction part, which is, I didn't realize, well, yes, I do. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
And I've discovered that, you know, some people aren't as friendly with money. You know, it's not like somebody said, hey man, here's like $10,000, fix it. It's not like that. And that's okay, you know, in God's time. And so it's cool.
So this is a project you've been working on for a couple of years and you're making some nice progress.
Yes.
And I know you're a big name around the speaking circuit around Orange County, and you are always happy to help out at events and tell your story. And I know you're involved in the community that way. Anything you want to talk about with the events and things that you do in that regard?
Yeah. How can we help you raise money for Brown Manor?
Well, hire me for an event. all the money goes there. Yeah. I'm currently, and here's another cool story is I work a lot. I mean, I literally work for food. I mean, and so I work.
When you say work for food, what do you mean?
Like on my the money I make from work, it's like what I buy my food with instead of a sign. You know, I feed myself. I'm fully self-supporting, decline as a contribution. So, and literally, believe it or not, in the proper context, every one of us work for food.
Well, sure.
Pretty much.
Yeah. You know, so when I see people with a sign, it's like,
look at my waistline.
Yeah. And I work for everything else, which means I at one point in time, I had 2 full-time jobs and running my company just so I can get Brown Manor up and going.
Nice.
You know, I'm getting older now, you know, but I'm not going to, I can't stop what I'm doing as far as work. So I'm willing to go do anything. If somebody wants to donate, that's fine. You know, hire me, that's fine. I am working on several projects that's probably going to help Brown Manor come out, but that's my whole being right now is getting that place up and running.
Okay.
What are some of those projects besides like the book and speaking, etc.?
We're currently working with a school on because I have an animated book called I Once Had Nowhere to Go, and that's going to become an animation. We're currently working on actually making a cartoon of that, and then once the sizzle reel come out with that, we're going to pitch to people if they want to pick up that project. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I am working. There's another documentary in the can right now about my life. Once we get somebody who wants that, then that'll be fine. And just speaking engagements, I'm working on another book. I actually wrote a workbook on how to deal with homelessness.
Oh,
I actually wrote a physical book, you know, on how to deal with that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of stuff that, you know, I'm constantly doing. And then out in the field, I'm currently in school to be a nurse practitioner, mm-hmm. and my specialty is going to be homelessness.
Fabulous.
Which there is no specialty on homelessness.
Yeah. Fabulous.
But
is this something you're kind of pioneering? Help pioneer?
I'm working on it. I reach out to people and let them know, especially right now, since everybody's like, oh yeah, let's help the homeless. Like, I got a solution. I can tell you how to deal with this homeless problem.
Tell us.
Well, okay. First of all, we have to look at it for what it is. Okay. A lot of times people think homelessness is either, you know, chronic, like first of all, people don't even realize if you don't have an address, if you live in a hotel room, or if you're just couch surfing, you're homeless. Okay. Let's look at it that way.
All right.
Okay. And that's chronic. Okay. No, that's acute. Chronic is the people that's out there in the street that's talking to themselves. Okay, mm-hmm. That's the only way we see it in those 2 different ways, whether mm-hmm. you're just mm-hmm. lost your job, et cetera, or you've been out there. It's subtle shades of gray.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to apply a treatment modality to each shade.
Okay.
That's why housing first isn't that great, because housing first is great for the acute, but for the chronic, you need more stuff.
Right.
And so if we can figure out how to address it, how to measure it, and how to deal with it, then we can utilize our resources more efficiently and be able to resolve it. That's one.
Okay.
Number 2, approaching homelessness. The biggest piece, I shouldn't tell my secrets, but hey, I like you guys.
Thanks.
Where people's messing up is the whole self-concept thing about homelessness. Uh-huh. That's the piece that they're missing. And when I say self-concept is, what is it that the individual is telling and believing themselves? Mm-hmm. Who do you think you are? You know, mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I'm Anthony. I'm a nurse. Yeah, I'm Anthony. I'm an addict. Okay. If I believe that, that's what I'm going to be.
Okay.
If somebody's homeless and you go, hey, you're homeless, and they believe they're homeless, that's what they're going to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have to change that.
The narrative.
Exactly. Yeah. And we don't do that. Okay. Mm-hmm. We'll say we'll put a roof over your head and give you some treatment. Okay, great. But are we actually getting really deep into doing some cognitive behavior restructuring mm-hmm. to get you to believe and talk and act like you're somebody different?
Right.
Yeah.
That is what we're missing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you something, Anthony, real quick. I know it's your story, but I'll just share a brief one. I was going through a real low point in my life. And the stuff I was doing just wasn't cutting in terms of, getting me out of this funky mood. And I went down to the friendship shelter, the homeless shelter just down Laguna Beach. And I went in and I met with the executive director and I said, look, I'm a brand new PhD and I want to teach, my vision is to teach homeless people life skills like goal setting, time management, stuff that I did with the executives when I was with a big consulting firm. And they thought that's a great idea. So I started teaching this class once a week and I would teach and I would talk to the homeless people like they were executives. Mm-hmm. I didn't talk to them like they were homeless. Yeah. And I just talked to them as they were human beings and they were executives and they needed to brush up on their time management, goal setting, negotiation skills. And it was phenomenally successful. Mm-hmm. And what I learned in that experience was that I think I did a little bit of good there, but whatever good I did, I got way more out of it. For me. Yeah. So the point is that homelessness is a big problem. It's getting bigger. When you go down to downtown LA, it's like, oh my gosh, tent city galore. And, the society now runs on such a sophisticated level that if you're, just below that, you can be out on the street in a New York second. Mm-hmm. We got to face this problem. These are human beings and there are solutions. And you have this unique position, having been homeless and now thriving in Orange County, being not just thriving, you're an example for our community to approach these problems. But I think we got to realize that the way we talk to homeless, it's one thing to hand them a buck, but it's another thing to sit down and have a conversation with them. Yeah. And treat them like they're human because they are.
Because they are
human. They are human.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we forget that sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was working downtown Laguna Beach. I mean, Laguna Beach is like kind of the mecca of homelessness. I mean, this is going back in 2006, I think. And two of my dearest friends were homeless and they always had my back because I would close the shop at, late at night and they would, come in with their coffee. I always felt safe with them. I was always looking out for them. They were always looking out for me. And I still see them to this day when I'm in Laguna. And it's like, they're people. And, you mentioned earlier that you have a certification in domestic violence, right? As do I, the 40-hour training, right? And majority of the women and the children who are fleeing domestic violence homes are homeless. Mm-hmm. So, again, do not judge a book by its cover. Don't judge people because you don't know what they're fleeing from. You don't know the backstory. We didn't know your story. And my God, you had a really good reason to be homeless, as, my friends in Laguna and majority of the women and the children out on the street today. Well, there's a reason.
Yeah. Not just a reason. I mean, it's a small miracle that you're alive. Mm-hmm. I mean, considering the life you were born into and all the things going on, the fact that literally, I'm sure a lot of people that went through that environment are no longer with us. Yeah. You are. Yeah. And also I see a theme over and over again with this post-traumatic thriving thing. And that is those who thrive are not just thriving, they're also very anxiously engaged in doing really cool things for the community, things that really matter. Mm-hmm. I was at an event yesterday in Costa Mesa on Harbor Boulevard.
In Wilson, just kidding.
I was on Newport Boulevard, just parallel to you. But anyways, I was in a church and we're getting ready for this event. I was speaking at it and the woman came in from the church. She was all frantic because she was looking for the towels because I have all the homeless come in once a week to take showers, get some fresh food, nice. Take a break, do their laundry and basically, restock. And they also have people there hiring. They have job interviews. You can build your resume and they have the people coming in with job interviews. So there's some hiring going on. That's, by the way, is what a real church looks like. Yeah. And cool. So the thrivers, what I'm getting at is that thrivers are not just like, getting degrees and nursing degrees and all the credentials. They do that, but they're also giving back to the community, and it's mm-hmm. going full circle to help others mm-hmm. that want to be helped to get back on their feet. That's
doing extraordinary things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm while I'm on my soapbox, I live in Laguna Beach. And one of the things I'll say about Laguna Beach, I'm so proud of the fact we don't have one, we have two homeless centers. Mm-hmm. We treat these people who are down and out with dignity, with some class. Mm-hmm. and we don't feed the habits. There's protocols so the money doesn't go to drugs and booze.
Right.
But there's a thrift store right on Broadway Avenue where homeless can go and quote shop for free. They can pick out clean clothes. They're fed, they're helped, and anybody who wants to get back their feet, they will get assistance.
Yeah.
They're not treated. These people are treated as people, not as in something less than that.
Exactly.
So I'm proud of that fact. Yeah. Shout out to Laguna Beach.
I love Laguna.
Yeah. And Costa Mesa, this church, if I could remember the name, I'd say it. I think I can't remember. Anyway, the point is, there's thrivers have this common denominator of trying to do something to help others.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's so many organizations out there, Mercy House is another one, here in Aliso Viejo. So God's not done with you yet, Anthony.
I know, but I'm tired, but I'm still ready to go.
But you got to still keep showing up. God still has bigger plans for you, and you're doing extraordinary things. And you're a huge example for so many people who are, living life in destitute and, who need to hear stories of hope. Like, my God, I am that, or two, if I don't catch myself, I can be that. Right. So yeah, your story is quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Time for me to get back to school.
Well, and speaking of God, this is not really a religious program per se, but it seems like we all have kind of a common denominator here where I just looked it up.
Power.
I just looked it up. It's Crossing. Let me get this right. Crossing Church on Newport Boulevard.
Oh, so shout out to them.
Yeah. Super cool. Where they're.
Oh, Lifelines with Randy Moratis.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lifelines, Randy Moratis.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
That's a great Friday night evening. That's a great, this was on Saturday. Yeah.
Well, I was just so impressed with their efforts to help the homeless.
Yeah. They're doing great stuff.
Yeah.
And with the VA.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And it seems that I'm also seeing a constant thing with those who are thriving. They embrace spirituality at some level. I always try to be very sensitive because it is a ticklish subject. It can get some people pretty, wound up. So let people have their space and however they define that. That's how I look at it. But I do see a common denominator where God or a higher power or the universe, I don't care what semantics people use, but that's always that spiritual quest. And I loved your story about being in the park and just having this connection with the divine. That's just so cool, and that seems to be a big part of people's thriving. Yeah.
We all have signs. We live such busy, crazy lives, right? Every day, it's like we're on overstimulation. But if we can just sit still, you see those little hummingbirds, you see those little squirrels, you see the little worms coming up, right? All of that stuff is the spirit world, whatever that is, your higher power. It's somebody talking to you. Like the other day, I'm sitting in my living room and I was talking about my mom, and all of a sudden in my peripheral, I saw a hummingbird at my window, and I'm like, oh, hi, Mom. I don't think I was actually saying something nice about her, and maybe she showed up. I don't know, but it's true, and those little signs. Again, this isn't like a religious thing, but we all should gravitate to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah. So, Anthony Brown, I first just want to say thanks for coming in. But I just want to ask you an open-ended question. I hope you walk away feeling like we got your full story. And if you don't, this is a time to just share whatever you want to share because you got a lot of wisdom. And so we're just going to give you the microphone and let you riff with whatever else you want to impart.
Well, thank you. This has been fun. I always want to give voice to those that are less fortunate. I really do. I think the reason why my journey is what it was, so that I could be here today to give voice to those who haven't found theirs yet. And so that's what I'm big on. We're all human beings, and like I said, we all have an expiration date. There's so much conflict and internal grief and strife going on. And it's like, why? We're not going to be here forever. So why not enjoy our moments? Let's work through whatever it is that you're going through so that you can find ease and comfort as we navigate this thing called life. Life isn't really hard.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't, it's just sometimes we find ourselves in fear of what we don't know.
Yeah.
But I've learned to accept everything is exactly what it's supposed to be, and everything. It's fun, it's fun. And so I'm here because I'm supposed to be. I had to learn that one. There's another story I was thinking about. I don't know if I can share it, but I will.
Yeah, sure.
We want you to.
I was a director of nursing at a psychiatric hospital during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and working in a hospital during COVID was challenging.
Yeah.
Okay, working in a psychiatric hospital during COVID was interesting, and I remember we had a client that was her respiratory system was crashing. And I ran in and I started, doing oxygen and everything that I do. And my assistant came up beside me and she goes, "You don't have any PPE on. Aren't you worried?" And I'm thinking, I need to save this person's life. Forget about everything else. And then afterwards, I told her, I go, it's really funny. I go, I ate out of trash cans and I put all kinds of drugs in my body and I was homeless. It's like, you think COVID wants to mess with my immune system? And that was her response. And that got us through this crisis, is that attitude.
Yeah.
We take what happened and we're able to find some use for it, but sometimes we don't know when we're going through it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I had to go through everything I went through to be able to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever is going on, there's a reason for it. We might not understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a reason for it. I believe, we're connected to a higher source or universe or whatever it is, because this is just, temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's just smile and just keep on.
Attitude is everything. I love your attitude.
That's honestly the first thing I noticed about you, Anthony. First of all, the number one thing I noticed was your gigantic
The
smile.
smile.
It was like, wow, that's trademark. You gotta try and bottle that and sell that. You make a fortune.
Yep.
No, you're just a bright smile. But more importantly, you have a calmness. You have kind of just a calmness and a serenity, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's very noticeable. I can't imagine you as a carny, getting into fights, but. Maybe there was a different time where that was a thing, but whatever you've been doing for the 23 years of sobriety and listening to Pink Floyd is really just beautiful. You just kind of radiate. I mean, I don't want to get carried away here, but you just kind of radiate a calm kind of sense of it's confidence is the word I'm looking for. Just a calm, quiet confidence where clearly whatever you're doing, whatever you're putting in your cornflakes, it's working,
It's that park experience. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's.
Yeah.
So we need to give gratitude for all of our hardships.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, until you had to help somebody with breathing, you never know how wonderful breathing is.
Mm.
There's a saying at Charlie Street, grateful people are happy people.
Mm-hmm.
And those that aren't. I'm grateful that I wake up in the morning. I'm grateful. I was grateful the other day because I had my trash can in my house was overflowing. And I was grateful for that because I have money to buy fast food to make that mess.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
It's true.
Be grateful to have those dirty dishes in your dishwasher because you were able to have food on those plates, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And you have water in your dishwasher. And you have a dishwasher.
Yeah.
And there's lights that you can see your dishwasher.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I got to tell you something. In our business here, we got a lot of clients, and a lot of them are very, very, very wealthy. Some of them are billionaires. Some of them are billionaires, and they're very, very kind. They're very, very great. They're very, very generous, and they do really wonderful things. I'm not trying to cast a bad light on people who have done really, really well, but some of them don't have gratitude. They're phenomenally wealthy, and I see pretty much the whole enchilada because of the work that we do with engaged in that. But there's not a sense of gratitude. It's more, I want more. I want more. I want to buy another of this. I want to buy, they already got a big warehouse full of custom cars and they want more cars, and they already own an island. They want to own another island. They already, how many suits can you put on? I mean, it's just ridiculous. How many watches, and all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of society is so tied up in this materialism. Let's face it, we're all chasing happiness. but they go down this wrong route that there is no satisfaction. What I noticed with you, Anthony, is that there seems to be a quiet, calm satisfaction with the path that you're on. And that's the way I see it. And you really kind of cut through, the gratitude that, hey, my trash can's overflowing. There's this a sense of confidence and gratitude, which is always a common denominator with those who are really genuinely thriving after a really horrific, experience. So I think your words are really powerful in terms of
very wise
gratitude.
Yeah.
All right.
This has been a pleasure.
Well, it was fun.
Yes,
Thank you. I'm
it's
glad
been
I
a
got
pleasure.
to meet everybody.
Yeah.
And again, you can find Anthony on www.anthonyhowardbrown.com.
We got 2 Browns in that.
I know, right?
Yeah. I'm not a Brown, but at least all our last names start with B. So
There you go.
I kind of feel part of the club.
We're the BBB.
Bees.
Yeah.
It's bees, Jody. It's the bees.
All right, everybody. Anthony Brown on Post-Traumatic Thriving, where we learn to dive, survive, or thrive.
The choice is yours.
See you next time.
Thanks for supporting our podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on your favorite social media. For books, merchandise, or to donate, visit CoreIQ.com. Post-Traumatic Thriving is produced by CoreIQ, a nonprofit with a mission to teach the life skills we all need but are not taught in school. CoreIQ and the Post-Traumatic Thriving podcast are for informational purposes only and do not provide medical or mental health advice. Always consult with your licensed medical and mental health care providers.